Jets, I hear them say it now.
Jets, white, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win tonight. White, green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a team take flight? Super Bowl dreams are still in sight. All we gotta do is win.
What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back for another video here on the Turn Up the Jets YouTube channel. As always, I am your host, Joe Skirdo. I hate that my camera is not working right now, so that's why I look obnoxiously close. Yeah, before we get into the video, please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. If you have, much appreciated. Like the video if you actually liked it. You could also follow me on Instagram and on X at Turn Up the Jets, all one word. I'm a little late to the party, I get it, but I just had to make a video here about the man that you saw in the graphic before the video started. It's Hasson Reddick. The New York Jets make a big splash Friday midday / evening as they continue to deal away. And I mean, Joe Douglas just continues to deal, and he continues to go all in this 2024 season, sending a conditional third-round draft pick in 2026 for a multi-Pro Bowler, all-pro type of edge rusher in Hasson Reddick to the Eagles. So this third pick becomes a second pick if Reddick plays 67.5% of the snaps and has 10 sacks. I think 10 sacks is more likely than 67.5%. Why? Because the Jets, well, they rotate more than any defensive line unit in the entire league. And there wasn't even a player that hit 65% of snaps last year. So that just means that Reddick is going to be fresher than ever. And it means that he could potentially be seeking another. This would be a fifth straight double-digit sack season. He had 11 last season, which led everybody on the team, on the Eagles. Year before that, he had a career high in 16 with 16 sacks with the Eagles. In the last 4 years, he has 50.5 sacks, which marks fourth most in the entire league with company like Myles Garrett and TJ Watt. We're talking about all-pro defensive player of the year candidates. Reddick is that good. Reddick is one of the best pass rushers in the NFL, and it's crazy that the Jets go and grab him at this price. This pick is in 2026. I can give a shit. I don't even care if it becomes a second-round pick because that's 2 years from now. The Jets, all they care about is right now. They didn't lose any compensation for this year, and now they can kind of get even more creative in the draft situation. They can trade back. They don't need a specific position anymore. They have really loaded up in terms of free agency. Maybe they move back for to a QB needy team, and they get that second round pick back, which they lost to the Packers for Aaron Rodgers, of course, when they traded for him last year. But this is a knock out of the park type of move. I know a lot of people were pissed off that they did not bring back Bryce Huff, despite, Robert Saleh gushing about him and Joe Douglas gushing about him in the owners' meetings last week. And you think, why the hell didn't you bring this guy back if he was so valuable? He came off a career high 10 sacks. You let him walk to go to the Eagles. Essentially, they go and get Reddick for Huff. That's basically what they do. They virtually just swapped edge rushers. Of course, Huff is younger, but let's be honest, Reddick is better. Reddick is more proven. He's had 4 consecutive double-digit sack seasons in a row. Huff will have to battle and try to do it for a second straight time. I don't know if he will. I mean, I think that Huff getting a lot of sacks credited him not playing a lot of percentage of the snaps. I mean, this was a guy that never saw double coverage, and it was a guy that was always fresh. And now Reddick, I mean, he's probably not going to see it either. And I think Reddick has the potential to almost creep up to 13, 14, maybe even 15 sacks this year with this Jets defensive line because it's so deep. You can't really just pick on anybody. You got Quinnen Williams. You now got Reddick. You got JFM. You got Jermaine Johnson. You got Will McDonald. I mean, it's absolutely loaded. And you also add Javon Kinlaw as well. So this is just, the rich get richer type of deal for the Jets defense. The Jets missed out on 2 edge rushers who they had their eyes on, and they didn't get them. I mean, Jadeveon Clowney was one of them. They were in the running for these edge rushers. Shaquille Barrett, who also signed a couple weeks back to the Miami Dolphins. For the Bucks to the Dolphins, of course, the Jets were interested on him and they missed out on him. So they missed out on two guys. So Douglas says, hold my beer. I'm going to go make a trade, and I'm going to trade for a guy who is, younger than both of those guys they went after. Yes, more expensive, but a lot more elite at his point of his career. This is a guy who's a first-round pick a couple years back, and he didn't quite get it the first couple years in Arizona. And then finally his last season, the double-digit sacks came along, and then he had another couple, 3 straight after that with the Philadelphia Eagles, and the rest is history. This is a guy who's made back-to-back Pro Bowls. He was a second-team All-Pro. You name it. He has a lot of accolades, and he seems like a born leader as well. Just listening to his press conference, you just got to like everything that you heard from him. He's really big into helping the young guys, the young edge rushers like Jermaine Johnson, like Will McDonald, touched upon Will McDonald quite often during the press conference, just because, he's saying, this is a crucial second year. He gets, being that first round, that highly touted prospect, and not having this, first couple of years in the NFL that he expected to have. But then he's turned it around a full 360 and has became an elite player in his position. And the thing is, the Jets, all they need him to do is rush the quarterback now. I actually just read a report that the Eagles weren't really in love that he was just searching for sacks. The Eagles did ask him to play in coverage as well. Obviously, he's not going to have to do that with the Jets. He's going to be a straight edge rusher on every single down. His goal is to get to the quarterback every single play. That's what the Jets need him to do. They don't need him to drop in coverage. Apparently, the Eagles had other plans. They wanted somebody who can do that in terms of what Reddick can do. They wanted him to do both. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how you can blame an edge rusher for trying to chase sacks. I mean, literally, that is their job. So that's a little strange to me. But despite the fact that Jets fans don't give a shit, because this is a home run type of move for Joe Douglas. They absolutely needed it. And they just keep on checking off needs on their checklist, and the draft hasn't even friggin' started yet. So now you look, maybe they get an RB2. They still need some safety help. I know they get Chuck Clark back and Tony Adams, but they need more depth over there. I know a lot of people are whispering Justin Simmons. I think that's another all-in what the hell type of move. I think they would have to restructure a couple deals. JFM comes to mind. I know there's been rumors about him possibly being a casualty, a cap casualty. I think it's all bullshit. I do not see the Jets getting rid of a guy like JFM. He's beloved by his teammates. He's beloved by the organization. And I see he loves the organization himself as well. So I could see him taking a pay cut to potentially open up more salary cap, restructuring a deal. So I could also see DJ redoing that as well. I think the Jets have to try to lock him in for the next couple of years and restructure his contract. So there are a few guys that are candidates that they can restructure those deals to open up more cap space. I believe they're only around like $1.5 to $2 million now in cap space. Of course, Reddick is going to be quite a cap hit, but you get what you pay for. And, of course, this is his contract year as well. This guy is looking for big money. The Eagles knew they weren't going to commit to him long-term. That's why they go and trade him, and that's why they get a younger option, probably end up cheaper option in Bryce Huff. Who knows? But I think, there is a possibility that the Jets go and sign him long-term for the next couple of years, because I still think he at least has 4 years of elite football left. He's 29 years old. I think you could argue that he can go into 32, 33 and still play at a high level. He has shown, he hasn't shown any regression or anything. He's getting better statistically each year. Of course, you can't really follow a 16 sack year in which he had in 2022, but despite the fact he's been better and better and better and better, and he's gotten himself, really in the top. He's gotten himself in the top of that list in terms of best edge rushers in the league. He's definitely in that discussion. He is in that discussion with Myles Garrett, with TJ Watt, just guys like that. So it's really exciting. It's a terrific move, and I think the Jets aren't done yet. Like I said, you go maybe get a safety. You have to get our RB2. Israel and Bandicana is not cutting it for RB2. RB3, sure, but he has a lot to prove. This is, a guy who was putrid in terms of pass blocking last year as a running back. Of course, he didn't have many snaps, but the stats just weren't good. I don't think he's NFL ready yet. I think my expectations were a little too high as everyone else's of him last year. He is a bit raw. Of course, he has elite speed, and he is a talented pass catcher, but he has a lot of work to do. And I do not feel entirely comfortable just throwing him in as the running back 2 behind Breece Hall. So I can see them maybe adding somebody. It could even be a rookie in the late rounds, but I'd prefer them to maybe sign, a proven name. You already went the rookie route last year. They've actually drafted running backs in the last 3 drafts dating back to Michael Carter. So I think it's kind of, time for them to get an established veteran who can really, mix it up, take the load off a little bit if Breece needs a breather, and then more so a change of pace type of guy. And then, yes, safety. Safety is probably the biggest need out of all of them at this point. You address the offensive line. You got a wide receiver 2. You got a backup quarterback behind Rodgers. You added another edge rusher to replace, well, you added 2 technically, but you added an elite edge rusher to replace Bryce Huff. And you lose Jordan Whitehead and you haven't been able to replace him yet. Yes, they added Chuck Clark, but I don't really feel comfortable throwing a guy in who just tore his ACL out there week 1 as the starter. I think they need a proven starter. And I think Clark and Adams would kind of be, that platoonish type deal in the safety room. So Justin Simmons, of course, is going to be the guy that everyone wants. I say, why the hell not? Joe Douglas proves that, he has proved rather that why the hell not either, because he has made these type of moves. I mean, these are, you can call them risky moves, but for the Jets, you got to love them because they are all in. They have a 40-year-old quarterback. We know it. We hear it every day. There's no room to worry about risk. It's going to be a big if all year. Can the Jets stay healthy? If they can stay healthy, they can be blah, blah team. They can be very good. We all know that, but it's going to be a big if, but the Jets have to take that risk. They do. They can't be, picking and choosing like, oh, this guy's been hurt. This guy's going to be cheaper because he's younger. No, get the best talent out there. And that's what they have done despite the injury history. Tyron Smith was the best offensive lineman in the market. Mike Williams, probably the second best behind Calvin Ridley in the receiving market. Hasson Reddick, I mean, there was no edge rusher to even compare to him on the free agent market. They go and trade for him. Morgan Moses, a proven guy, they go and trade for him. I mean, these are all in type moves. This is a better roster already than it was last year. And I think they're much better if you really look at it. If they're able to fill the safety and the running back 2 position before the draft, easily, this is a better roster. It already is already, but then you feel really good if they're able to fill those holes, especially before the draft. And then you have so much flexibility if they're able to do that. So you got to be excited. That was a great trade. I don't really give a shit about the picks, like I mentioned. And this is a well-proven star. I mean, he is. He's a star, and he seems to be happy being on this defense, being on this team. And he just gushed over everybody on this team. He was naming a lot of his teammates. You could see that he did his research of this team. And he's excited, and so are the Jets fans. So I wanted to just touch upon that really quickly because that was one of the biggest moves of the offseason for the Jets. Did want to throw out there that we obviously heard the news that Stephon Diggs is getting traded for a 2nd-round pick. It's Diggs, a 5th and a 6th. I believe the 6th is this year. The 5th is next year. Diggs is going to the Houston Texans. The Buffalo Bills have lost quite a bit of their starters. They lose Morse, their center. They lose Davis and Diggs, both 1 and 2 wide receivers. They lose Leonard Floyd. They lost Jordan Poyer. They lost Tre'Davious White. I mean, damn, dude, they have lost a lot, and to the point that they're eating $30 million just to not have Stephon Diggs on their team. So we can now finally say that everything last year of what Allen said, that they have a great relationship. Diggs said the same thing. McDermott, everybody around the organization says there's no bad blood between Diggs and the organization. That was all bullshit. Of course, there was something that we didn't know about, but we suspected, and they just kind of blah, blah, blah. They lied through their freaking teeth. They knew that was all bullshit. There was some bad blood. Diggs didn't want to be there, obviously. And now the rest is history. He goes with Tank Dell, Nico Collins to pair up with them. Receiving passes now, the second year, now former rookie of the year, CJ Stroud. They added Joe Mixon. They extended Dalton Schultz. That team is loaded on paper, and Jets fans know on paper doesn't matter because so are the Jets. The Jets are also loaded on paper, but it's going to be exciting to see these teams. I'm not going to count out Buffalo. Jets fans celebrating. Yes, I'm celebrating that the Buffalo Bills have lost quite a bit this offseason. The Dolphins have too, but the Dolphins have done a great job of kind of repairing those holes that they lost. The Bills really haven't done a whole lot. They signed Curtis Samuel. I thought that was a nice addition, but then you lose Diggs. So now it's him and Shakir, and I think, they also signed Mac Collins too. There's not a whole lot there in terms of receivers for Josh Allen, but he's still the best. Let's be honest. He's still the best quarterback in the division. This team has won the division 4 years in a row, and the Jets haven't made the playoffs in 13. So I'm not going to write off the Bills and say they're dead and, blah, blah, blah. There's no way they can win the division. Sure they can. They're still betting favorites at plus 160 for a reason. Vegas always friggin' knows. I'm not really treating the Bills lightly. I still think the Bills are the team to beat until proven otherwise. We can't just already put the Jets out there because the Jets haven't done anything. Can they do it? Yes. Do they have the best roster in that division? I absolutely think so. But, it all matters is games aren't won in March and April. They're won in September, October, November, December, January, and ultimately, hope to God, February. So we'll have to see. I still think it's going to be a tough division. Still can't take the Dolphins lightly either. Like I said, I thought they made some nice additions of replacements of guys that they lost. Both teams did lose a lot. Bills definitely more because the Bills haven't really made a ton of moves to fill those holes. But I fully expect the Bills to maybe add like a Michael Gallup type free agent along with drafting a wide receiver. I wouldn't be surprised if they trade that second round pick that they got for Diggs and their first round pick to move down and try to get one of those top guys. Maybe not Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors, but possibly like an Adunze or a Brian Thomas, maybe even Xavier Worthy. I don't know how high they're on how high they are on him, but I fully expect them to kind of make a move. There's no way they roll in the year with Samuel, Shakir, and Matt Collins as their three receivers. I think their room is going to look a lot different from now until September. But that's big stuff. That was a huge trade. So Reddick gets traded on Friday. Diggs gets traded today. A lot going on. The NFL never sleeps. But that's going to wrap it up. Appreciate everybody. As always, Joe Scurto here, your host. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We're creeping up to 300 subscribers. Very grateful for that. Like the video if you actually liked it. And again, you could follow me on social media platforms such as X and Instagram. I almost said X and Twitter. Same thing. I still hate calling it X, but X and Instagram at Turn Up the Jets. All one word. Until next time, see ya.
Jets, I hear them say it now.
Jets white green, just green and white. Tell me, have you ever seen a